Well, good morning, everyone. If you have watched this channel for any length of time, you know I obsessed about a couple of things, topiaries and olive trees. I'm obsessed about other things too, but for our topic today, we are going to discuss how to prune, maintain, and basically just take care of olive trees. Yes, I have to put them in the greenhouse or a friend's greenhouse over the winter because they're not frost hardy. But other than that, boy, what's important to me is they can really take the heat and sun and hot weather of an Oklahoma summer. So what do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so let's put up a pruning guide for olive trees right here, and I'll discuss them as I kind of go through and tidy up this one in particular. I've got two. This one is a little bit taller and really more of a tree form. And then if we can kind of come over here, you can see this other one that is more of a small tree shrub form. Prior to this year, I had them positioned right where these Nelliette hollies from Southern Living Plant Collection are. They're beautiful and I love them there, especially when they get taller. But these, I really wanted them to feel as if they were truly trees and that they kind of lent their softness over the edges of the brick patio in the back. So this one I'm pretty content with. I'm not going to do a lot of pruning on it, but let's go back to where I was originally, because this is the one that, even though I like the fact that it's got a nice open loose form, a goblet shaped form if you will, I nevertheless want it to bush out a little bit more without losing kind of that open loose texture. Now the first thing you want to do is really think about what time of year it is. So the best time to prune them is late winter, early spring. So I am kind of, for me here in my Zone 7 garden, I am pushing the envelope a little bit, but it's still been relatively cool and I think I've got a good window of time. The other thing that I want to take care of is any kind of dead or crossing branches that are, I mean, this is a no-brainer and you can take those out at any time of year. And actually this one's been pretty well maintained. I don't have too many crossing branches.
What do you mean by crossing branches?
Like if they were going like this. See, like that's kind of crossing, but this isn't, it could be a lot worse. And so I could just reposition them and they're not crossing too much. The reason that you don't want them to cross is because then when the wind blows, that friction between one branch and another can form abrasions. You want more air circulation to get through there. So in this instance, I don't really see any. If you do out there in YouTube land, that's my question of the day, let me know. So what I mostly want to do is just increase the density. So by doing that, I want to make sure that number one, first do no harm. So I don't want to remove any more than about 1/3 of the tree itself, of the canopy itself. And I'll probably remove even less than that. So sometimes you can prune out here and it will force more growth in and down the stems if I really hard prune it, but I'm just going to do what I call tip pruning, and I did this to my hollies and I'm going to do it here. Let me see if I've got an example of where I may have tip pruned in the past. I don't really see any right now, but I'm going to tip prune this and I'm going to come in about 3 inches. So even though I've got new growth here, I want that new growth to occur closer to the interior of the plant. That way it will bush out even more. So I could take it here, then it would send out, instead of just one stem, it would send out 2. And Stuart, can we get down in there? See those 2 little nubs?
Focused in, yeah, they can.
Those 2 little nubs right there? That's going to create 2 branches. So I will then have, if I cut it right here, I would have 2 branches instead of 1. So then I'd have 2 coming out here. But I really want the 2 to come more from the interior. So in this case, I am going to cut it all the way back to here. And then I'm going to tip prune this to here. and then I'll get more density inside. So all of these I kind of like. I like the looseness of it, but I still want it to bush out a little bit more. So I am just going to tip prune this. And by the way, I am just so casually discarding these, and I might want to use these inside. I've never tried propagating from any kind of cuttings. You can find them. Where did I most recently see some olive trees? I think I saw some at Lowe's. They can be a little bit hard to find and typically only at certain times of year. It's just keeping your eyes open and observant, so that when you spot one, you can take advantage of it. Now, you're probably asking, but Linda, where can I get one this large? Well, if you want one this large, you probably need to maybe go further south in an area where they would overwinter, or someplace like Calvert's, which is an inside, kind of more for inside plants and interior staging of different kinds of plants. This one I started, gosh, I've had this one for I don't know how many years. Yeah, for a long time. And consequently, it's grown a lot taller. Now, I've got these mulched in gravel for the same reasons that I mulch other things in gravel, and that's that. I want to keep the squirrels out, keep the moisture in, and I like the kind of Mediterranean look of it. So I'm just going to continue doing this, and this is going to get bushier in particular, but in general, pruning forces new growth on really anything that you prune. You just want to make sure that you prune it at the right time and in the right amount. It's actually similar to when you just deadhead something. By deadheading a zinnia, by deadheading really pretty much anything, it just increases the bushiness. We do this to our boxwood. We do it to different kinds of flowering shrubs, any of them that we really just want to have more bushiness and more density. So I'm not going to cut off more than a third, and probably what I'll do is cut this off, step back, assess. Obviously, I've got more that I want to do on this. I also want it to be a little bit symmetrical. So here, Stuart, you were asking about a cross branch. Okay, here's a crossing branch right here. When I stepped back, I saw it. See these two right there?
Yes.
Right in there, they are crossing. So I could remove one or I could remove the other. In this case, I'm going to remove this one. And by the way, I could use regular pruners on this, but most of the branches are thin enough that I can just use my very favorite thing to use to deadhead, Joyce Chin. And I've always loved them before for my topiaries, but I like them even more for deadheading. It would have made a great Mother's Day gift. I'm behind the curve on that. But buy some for yourself as a present, because they are the best deadheaders. Deadheaders? They make great deadheaders to deadhead your perennials and things, your annuals. So the other thing that I want to take into account is, are there any suckers coming up from the bottom? And one could argue that these are suckers because they're coming up from the bottom where I lost a cane for some reason. But I'm just going to leave them there. I'm going to leave the growth on them and let them start growing out in this direction. But if I had any suckers, any that are growing just straight up and vertical, I could remove those, and I think I'd be more pleased with the overall look.
Silly question. What's a sucker?
A sucker is it's something that typically comes up from the base. It grows very, very straight. We see suckers coming up a lot off of trees when there's wind or hail damage or ice damage, and it's just not so pretty anymore. The other classic thing is if you're growing a crepe myrtle and you want it to be a small tree and it gets all those suckers coming up from the base, then you probably want to clip those back so it looks more like a tree and less like a big shrub. So I'm wondering if there's anything else on that list of things, of my tips. By the way, this is one category of plant, I don't really care about fruit production. I don't really care if it puts out that many olives. It looks cool, and there's some olives on the other tree, but mostly I just like it for its gray-green shape. I love the Mediterranean vibe it gives. It's great if you have a California-style garden, a Mediterranean garden, really a Moroccan, anything like that. We're using a couple of large ones to help style somebody's front porch, and she's got a very Moroccan type architecture to her garden and her landscape. So in terms of watering, I water these maybe once a week. The biggest problem that I have with them is scale, and I really routinely spray them with neem oil and just keep a lookout for scale at all times. Sometimes, you know, and I really don't want them to go into the greenhouse with scale. So that's just something that you want to be a good steward about, really monitor it. So I will use neem and sometimes insecticidal soap, but I use them fairly regularly to keep that scale at bay. And of course, as I'm doing my pruning, I can always look for any kind of leaves that might have scale, and then I can prune those off. Okay, so speaking of olives, this one actually, it came out of the greenhouse and it had tons of flowers on it. And those flowers, of course, result in baby olives. Can you see those right there? Now, I don't ever brine the olives to actually eat them, but I do think they look really cool. So I'm always happy when they do fruit. In terms of feeding, they're really light feeders. You don't want to overdo it. Mine are in containers, however, which means that because of the you know, a lot of watering and such, that those nutrients really leach out. So about, you know, I don't know, every month or so, I might give it a 10-10-10 balanced feed, usually some kind of liquid organic, maybe an espoma citrus tone or something like that. But I don't want to overdo it. These probably, and I want to do it at the beginning of the growing season. I may do it a little bit later also, but that's pretty much how I feed them. You know, obviously I think you could probably put compost on top of the soil to give them a good organic feed, but actually they fruit better when they're a little bit more stressed. So I think I'm going to stress out that other one just a little bit more, so it might put on some babies. Okay, one last thing in terms of pruning. So right here, when you prune along the stem, you want to prune to an outward facing branch if possible. This one is facing out. It's just like when you prune your roses, because I want it to face out. If it faced in, it would create some of those crossing branches, and I would get less air circulation in the interior of the plant. So I'm going to clip just right there, and that will turn into another outward facing branch. So if you wanted to know about how to maintain, feed, water, prune your olive trees, and if you want to become obsessed with your olive trees like I am with mine, then you might want to add them to your porch or your patio, or even in the ground if you're in the right zone. You can also do a tabletop version. I sometimes find these at Trader Joe's. And here is a tabletop version. And you can see how I've really been pruning on this because I want this one to get real dense. Obviously, this one needs to go into the greenhouse too. And I really love the way this color, this gray-green foliage looks with red, a la all of the red that I've got in the backyard. So you guys take care. Make sure to screenshot this with all of the tips on care, maintenance, and tips for growing olive trees.